What is up, 2K crew? Yes, it is podcast day. It is Sunday. It is 8 o'clock here in the Eastern time zone. And 2Ks, what an awesome weekend. What an awesome weekend. Finally got some summer-like weather, which is always a bonus. But had a lot of good sports on this week. A lot of good sports on this weekend. So, 2K crew, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk... Speaking of sports, we haven't talked a whole lot of NFL talk, have we?
Just basically the draft so far.
And yes, I know that it's almost 100 days until the NFL season kicks off, but we got to talk about it anyway. Because there's some hard-hitting questions that have come up, and we're going to answer them for you today here on the Turbo and 2K show. So, let's jump into this real quick. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on the listening to the podcast, go ahead and give us a follow because no one subscribes anymore. So go ahead and follow us. And for those of you on the YouTubes, I do see there is a handful of viewers in here, so welcome. Go ahead and I do see a couple likes already, which is awesome. So go ahead and like, comment, and if you comment, I will pull you on the screen and feature you on the show. So, with that out of the way, 2Ks, the title of the show today is hard-hitting NFL questions. So what we did, 2K crew, is I sent 2Ks a list of questions, and he sent me his list back. So we really haven't gone over the answers to them. So we're gonna do it for you live, right here, right now. So, 2Ks, since we are located in Michigan, and it just seems appropriate to start the conversation off with some Lions football. And do you think the Lions are going to be better off without Matthew Stafford?
I mean, in the short term, I don't think there's any chance at all. I mean, are we going to compare Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford to who the better quarterback is? I mean, I don't even think it's close. I think Stafford by a long shot.
Yeah.
Now you look at postseason success and obviously getting to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff has done that. Now Matthew Stafford never played in Detroit 1 year and had the
Correct.
Coaching or the talent around him that Goff had. I'm not a huge Goff fan, never have been. I think that I think he comes over to Detroit, kind of plays the way that I expect him to. I think Detroit will be a team that's looking at a top 3 draft pick next year, and I think in next year's loaded quarterback class, they probably draft their quarterback of the future with one of those picks. So no, I don't. Short term, I do not think it's better. Long term, I think it was the right thing. I think Stafford needed to get out of Detroit for his career. And I think that Detroit needed to go. I mean, Stafford was there for over 10 years. I mean, and so I think it was good for both just to part ways. Everything was cordial. It wasn't like it was, there was any nastiness in it. And not that I'm a Lions fan at all. I love Stafford. I hope to see him in LA have a lot of success, and I think that he will.
And this is kind of a two-sided, even though it doesn't appear two-sided as I propose the question, but you 2K, you know as well as I do, there's so many Lions fans that just would trash Matthew Stafford, saying he was the reason the Lions were losing. He was the reason that the team was awful. When in actuality, if you look back at his stats, how many times did he throw for over 4,000 yards? And how many times did he have, a 2 or 3 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio? It wasn't him that was losing the games. It was that awful team that surrounded him. Pretty sure if you go back and look, probably never had a 1,000-yard rusher.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And however, he did have one of the best receivers of all time, but it was with an organization that drafted used 3 straight, I think it was 3 straight first-round picks on receivers. And they finally hit a home run with Calvin Johnson. But the defense has always been awful. They never have a running game, and their offensive line sucks. And if you notice, I didn't mention Stafford's name in any one of those cons. If you've been following our show for any amount of time, you know that both 2Ks and I are big Stafford fans. And in the grand scheme of things, the only thing that's held him back is the Lions organization for not putting a team around him. So are the Lions going to be better? No. Are the Rams going to be better with Matthew Stafford? Absolutely. Because there's a lot of folks that said that even with their postseason run, that Goff was the reason they couldn't open the playbook or they couldn't expand it, and they relied heavily on Melvin Gordon. They have, arguably the best defensive player in the league and a very stingy defense. Mm-hmm. So
they have the best defensive player in the league in Aaron Donald, and they have the best defensive back and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, those are two of the best defensive players in all of the NFL on one team. I mean, that's a loaded defense, and for Stafford to be going over there, who I consider right now a top 10 quarterback in the league, and I'm hard pressed to have Jared Goff in the top 20. Mm-hmm. So to me, this Rams team can be very, very good. The problem is the division that they play in is
very, very hard.
Is very, very hard.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and just picture if you're Matthew Stafford and you walk into that first meeting and you look at the stable of running backs you have, you got to just have a hard on, because he's never had that. Never. So now that we got that out of the way, one of the questions you sent me, which is probably the elephant in the room: will Aaron Rodgers start Week 1 for Green Bay? And I'm gonna, yes, he will. First of all, if the Packers organization they've come out and said they're not trading him, which means he either doesn't play or plays for the Packers. Do I think they would move from that stance and open up trade talks or even consider it? Maybe. But how would you like to be the GM that traded Aaron Rodgers? And then if you trade him, where does he go? Granted, there should be probably 20 NFL teams lining up saying, here you go. We want Aaron Rodgers right now. Write down on this piece of paper what it's going to take. But I think once all the drama's done, and it seems like lately he's been kind of a diva, and he's caught a lot of shit from it. You look at any number of either ex-Packers or ex-NFL guys that have just come out and said, shut your mouth and play the game, basically. And it's not... And this is a weird situation because it's not money driven. It's not. He's more of the I'm doing this for the fact of the matter or on principle rather than a dollar amount. Which it seems like anytime a lot of these players are holding out, it's for money. So this isn't the case with this one. So yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little different. But I think all in all, once the two sides kind of meet together, they're all going to live happily ever after. And the part that really sucks is Coach LaFleur and the rest of the team are like, come on, Ron, what are we doing? Because he's basically holding the whole franchise hostage right now. And yes, did it suck that they drafted up or traded up to get Love?
His replacement,
yeah, that sucks. And if you watched any Packers games last year, he didn't play a single snap. So that's if you are.
And for the most part, last year they had him listed as their number 3 quarterback.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it was a team that was one game away from the Super Bowl. I mean, I think that was where they were so close to being, getting over that edge. I mean, they ran into a San Francisco team that year that was just running the football all over everybody, and Green Bay's defense was exploited in that game. And if there was anything to take out of that was, okay, Green Bay needs receivers, or they need to go defense big time. And I think if they would have went defense, Aaron Rodgers would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
But you have to come out of that draft with a wide receiver. They came out of that draft where people were saying this is the best wide receiver class we've seen in 20 years.
They
come out of that draft with no receivers. They come out of it with in their first round pick. They traded up for Rodgers' replacement, and in the second round they went with a running back when they already had two very good running backs there.
Yeah.
It's just it didn't make any sense to me. I understand why Rodgers would be upset there. But to answer the question, do I think he's going to start week 1? I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Green Bay said they're not going to trade him. Mm-hmm. So does he retire for a year? Is the question, and then come back? He's 38 years old.
Yeah.
I don't think his body can take a year off and then come back into it, and and just pick up right where he left off. I think you at that age, you lose. I mean, if you take a year off, I think he loses it when he comes back. He might be able to come back and still be a decent quarterback.
Yeah. But
an MVP caliber quarterback like he was last year and like he could be right now, I think I just don't see it happening. I think look. This draft all happened 2 years ago, and he came back and put up an MVP season. Mm-hmm. He wasn't. I mean, it was obvious that he wasn't happy in that offseason. Mm-hmm. He played it right and kept his mouth shut and just did what he had to do. Won the MVP. Ended up in the same place, losing to who the fuck they lose to this past year in the playoffs? Tampa. Yeah, losing to Brady and Tampa, the Super Bowl champions. So, but. I think he comes back. I think he probably has another really good year. I think Green Bay's going to be the team to beat in that division still. I don't give it to the Bears yet. I think the Bears had a great draft, but I think they're still a year or two away from being able to take over that division. And as long as Aaron Rodgers is suiting up for Green Bay, they're the team to beat in that division.
Yeah, even sitting here as a Bears fan and is super excited for them
as you should be.
Them actually ponying up and doing something. And I was actually talking to someone the other. Well, we'll save that one for later. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And there's just too much on the line for him to just say, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. All right. Well, 2Ks, we're gonna go bouncing around in your backyard. And will the Cowboys finish over 500 this season? Now, there's a lot to consider. We're having Dak come back from a super serious injury. Everything looks to be going very well for him. Had a decent draft. And obviously, there's the two biggest question marks for the Cowboys for me is, how's Dak going to perform? And is that defense going to be able to stop anybody? Those are the two big keys for me. So, what are your thoughts? Do you see them? Are you taking the over or under? I guess with 17 games, you really can't. It's either under 500 or above 500. You can't go 500 anymore. But where do you see them finishing?
Yeah, I have the same two questions. I'm not so worried about Dak. I think Dak's going to be fine. I think Dak's going to be. He's too good. He's done it long enough. This is his best offense that he's ever had. I mean, he's loaded at receiver. Ezekiel Elliott cannot be as bad as what he was last year. I mean, there's no way. So I think that him having a bad year, I think is good for the Cowboys as far as him coming back. I wanna believe that he's gonna look better. Because I mean, let's face it, watching him last year, I know he's always been a bigger back, but he was playing at too heavy.
Yeah.
For a NFL caliber running back, Ezekiel Elliott, I just thought he looked too heavy to me. And then also the fumbling issues that he had,
which was weird.
That can't happen. He's never fumbled the ball in his entire career. I just think when Dak went down,
the
whole team went down. And I mean, and the problem is the defense was awful from even when Dak was there putting up all the numbers, they were still losing games because their defense was so bad.
Yeah.
So that's what I question. Can their defense stop anybody? They did show some improvement after Dak went down, because even with Andy Dalton, they were in some games. And even had an opportunity to win that division. I know it's a shitty division, but they had an opportunity to do it. Do they go over 500? Yes, because of that reason right there. I think their division sucks. A lot of people are starting to kind of give some credit to Washington. Great defense.
Oh, yes.
What the fuck they going to do on the offensive side of the ball, though? Eagles are terrible. That's a dumpster fire there. Not worried about them. So the Giants have had an offseason where they've brought in some talent.
Love Saquon back.
Yeah, have Saquon back. Galladay from wide receiver from Detroit there now. So they're the team to me to beat. I think when it's all said and done, the Cowboys win that division. I really do.
I think you're right, and even if
So obviously, yeah, you go over 500.
yeah, which I would hope so. If you're going to win a division, you might as well go over 500. But 10-7, I could see that. I the defense has to show me more before I put them over that 10-win mark. But I'm with you. They will finish over 500.
And I really like the bringing Dan Quinn in to be defensive coordinator. He obviously, he had his moments in Atlanta as a head coach. They were in a Super Bowl. Now they choked away probably the worst choke job in Super Bowl history.
Yes.
But he was successful there as a head coach. But before that, he was very successful. Obviously, with his defense in Seattle, that kind of put him on the map and got him that head coaching job. So I like him being there. They got to be better. Their defense is they can't be it can't get any worse than what it was last year. At moments.
It's very true. It's very true. And like I said, I put him. I can confidently put him at 10 wins.
Yeah.
And would it shock me if they went 12 or 13? No, no. Just because of that offense is going to be that
offense
good.
is sick. And people are really starting to talk about the Giants now, and they do. They have a great defense. I'm not sold on their offensive line.
No.
It's.
I'm still not sold on Danny Dimes, to be honest with you.
That's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
Barkley's coming back. I get it, the talent there, but he's never been able to stay healthy really in his entire NFL career. So I'm not real big time jumping on that. He's coming back from a major injury. And then Danny Dimes. I don't think he's the answer. I just don't. I don't think. I said it when he was during or after that draft when they drafted him, and he was the Eli Manning lookalike, and
yes.
And he's had decent moments, but as far as a quarterback that's just gonna win championships and win divisions, I just don't see it.
I don't either. I don't either. And probably the biggest wild card in that division is I'm going to put the Eagles as the biggest wild card, just because we don't know what's going to happen with them. We don't know how Jalen Hurts is going to perform. We don't. There's just so much unknown now that they've moved away from the Carson Wentz era. Excuse me. And what is this team going to look like? What is their identity going to be? Whereas with the other teams, we pretty much in that division, we know what we're going to get. In Washington, you're going to get a badass defense, and with Dallas, it's the opposite. You're going to get a badass offense, and with the Eagles, you're just like, yeah. And with the Giants, it's like, and I'm sure we're in the same boat as a lot of other people. It's like we need to see something. We need to see some improvement, some progression to even take that team seriously. So but yes, and the Cowboys are fortunate to be in that division with the other three. Otherwise, if they were in a division, like we mentioned with the Rams, then that 10-7 could be 7-10.
Oh, yeah.
Super easy. Well, 2K, your second question you sent to me was, who has the best season, Lawrence, Wilson, or Trey Lance? And out of those three, definitely, I can't go Wilson just because he's a Jet.
Which I love that Robert Saleh hire. I do like. As a head coaching job, if out of all these guys that are getting their opportunity, becoming head coaches, I probably root for him the most of all of them. Him being a Michigan native, part of it, but. God damn, it's the Jets.
Yep, it is. It is the Jets.
It's like that's where everybody's careers just go to die as a head coach. It seems like.
Well, if you are Wilson though, because the team's been so awful for so long, there can't be a whole lot of pressure.
No.
All you got to do is be better than the last guy.
Yeah. But it's New York.
Yeah, the spotlight's on you, but as far as the pressure to perform. Yeah, the team's out. It's not like you're walking in trying to replace Brady. You're replacing Sam Darnold. There's a big difference. But I'm gonna have to go with Lawrence on this one, because I think as far as between him and Trey Lance, if I had to put my paycheck on who's starting week 1, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. With Trey Lance, we're still not sure in San Francisco who's going to start, Jimmy G or him. You know, they're saying it's Jimmy G's team. We'll see about that. But, and I like, it seems like, and this is going to sound really weird because the Jags have been awful for so long, that team's not bad. Gardner Minshew was dropping 400-yard games. And just looking at the weapons and everything that Lawrence is going to have, the defense has always been stout there. Mm-hmm. So I think he's stepping into possibly a better situation than the other two, just simply because it's already kind of not assumed, but you kind of know who the guy is there already. Mm-hmm. Not to say that Trey Lance isn't going to have a good season once he gets in, but then again, coming from North Dakota State, I really didn't get to see a lot of him. And I think there's a lot of folks that are in the same boat as, you know, I want to see what you can do, especially at this level. Whereas Lawrence has played on the big stage how many, you know, year in and year out. We pretty much know what we're going to get from him. So, like I said, if I had to place a monthly paycheck on who's going to be the most impactful or have the best season, I got to go with Lawrence.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I think Lawrence is the safe bet to go. Trey Lance, I think, is there's so many questions with him. Is he going to be the guy at the beginning of the season? Mm-hmm. That's the number one question. The number two question: he hasn't played organized football in a very long time, as far as game speed football. Not even at the college level, but let alone NFL. So he's going to be jumping into a whole new speed of the game. So that part of it has me wondering a little bit. Trevor Lawrence, he's coming from Clemson. He's played in the biggest college stage multiple times. Basically from last year's draft, everybody chalked him up as the number one pick the next year. People were saying that he could have been the number one pick 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. The talent is there. The way that he can, it seems like he can do everything. I don't think you can go wrong with Trevor Lawrence here. Do I think Trey Lance is going to be great at San Francisco and better than Garoppolo? Absolutely. I think he's going to. But as far as at the beginning of the season, week 1, we might not see him.
Right.
I think the odds are pretty good that we do. San Francisco gave up everything they had to move up in this draft to get to that third pick. So you got to believe they were going all in, and and they're going to start. That's going to be their guy to start, or he's at least going to have the opportunity at being the number one guy. And if Garoppolo just changes everything in the offseason, leading up to the beginning of the season, then so be it. He goes and gets the job. But I mean, from what we've seen in Garoppolo's career, he's not that guy. Very, very manageable quarterback.
Kind of like an Alex Smith type.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But as far as a quarterback that's gonna get them to where San Francisco wants to be and where San Francisco can be.
Should be.
Yeah, they need a quarterback that can be elite. I mean, that's because everywhere else they are, everything else that they have on that team is at that elite level. Yeah. Right now, it's quarterback that's holding them back. So, but as far as if I'm putting my paycheck on anything, Trevor Lawrence is the guy.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. The next burning question, the next burning NFL question. Folks on YouTube, if you are watching live, go. If you agree, disagree with what we're saying, let us know. Let's get a conversation started. Speaking of conversations, Patrick Mahomes was quoted as saying that his next goal is to go 20-0. And of course, everyone jumped on his ass because, if Brady can't go 20-0, what makes you think you can go 20-0? What I got to say to that is, he just said that was his goal.
Yeah.
He didn't drop dick and say, Chiefs are going 20-0. 20-0. Book it right here, right now. I'm guaranteeing a perfect season. It's not what he said at all. Did the media make it sound like that? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, my question to you two, K's, is Pat Mahomes right? Or I shouldn't say right. Is his goal going to be achieved? by going 20-0 this year? And if he doesn't, will the Bucks in TB12 finally go 20-0?
No. Either one of these teams go 20-0. The NFL is so good. I mean, even some of the worst teams in the NFL can still. It's not like they're getting rocked every single week in, week out. They're still competing. It's hard enough to get a team that to be 500 in the NFL, let alone run the table. I mean, that just goes to show you what the Patriots did there, however many years ago in that season, when they did run the table all the way to the Super Bowl and then got beat. That's regardless that they didn't finish the job. It's still unbelievable what they did that season to be able to go undefeated, and just make it look easy. Unfortunately, they lose to fucking Eli Manning, and
twice.
David Tyree catching the ball on the back of his helmet, and somehow the fucker stuck to it, and just things went their way. But I don't think that we ever will see a team go 20-0. I don't see it happening. The NFL, it's so even. These teams. It seems like every year there's maybe 2 or 3 teams that are just fucking terrible. The Jets, over the years, the Browns, but the Browns are have obviously changed everything around. But the Lions. But other than that, after you get past those 3 or 4 teams that are just complete fucking trash, then it seems like everybody else is kind of just right there. And then you might have your couple elite teams, but those elite teams are going to get bounced a couple times in a season. The Chiefs, they play in a very good division too. I mean, they're going to play against really good football teams. And the Bucks, there's a team right next door in New Orleans that's going to challenge them each time that they play also, who has one of the best coaches in the entire NFL, and Sean Payton. So, no, I don't think it happens. I think that these are going to be 2 of the better teams in football. I think they're going to be 2 of the teams that I think there's a very legit shot that there is a rematch between these 2 teams. I think they're the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL, absolutely. But they're going to get bounced once or twice at least in this season.
I even if you look at NFL history, okay, we found, especially in because what was it, like the 1976 Dolphins, whatever the hell it is, went 18-0. They were the last undefeated team in the in history. And look at how many teams have went winless since then. It seems to me it's easier to go winless in the NFL than it is to go undefeated. So my answer is no. This is not going to happen. And especially if one of these teams jumps out to a big divisional lead, or in the last 2 or 3 home game, or the last 2 or 3 weeks don't really mean anything. Kind of like the Colts and Peyton Manning. When they were chasing, perfection, and Tony Dungy got slammed for, resting some players, and so is it worth that perfect season? Are you willing to risk your players' health and safety and everything else just to do that? In my opinion, no. That's dumb. So yeah, I really, you're 100% right when you say the teams are too good. They're too even. Whereas, going back, a couple decades, you saw some barn burner teams and some shitty teams. Whereas I really don't think that's the case nowadays. I really don't think that's the case. All right, so
I'm looking. I just looked ahead, just glanced at it real quick at Week 1 matchups, and the Chiefs play the Browns Week 1. Their perfect season could be done
Week 1.
I mean, because I think the Browns are going to be a team that they should have just as good of odds as anybody to win the Super Bowl to start the season. I mean, if you look at their talent from top to bottom, they probably have the most talent of anybody in the NFL right now. Their question is quarterback. Can Baker Mayfield play to the caliber of a Super Bowl championship team? Can he do that?
And he showed glimpses of it, but it's not consistent. And speaking of a loaded division, I mean, you still have the Steelers in that division, and then you got Lambjack and the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
So that division's not too easy either. Not too easy either. Well, 2Ks, your next question goes perfect timing, or goes with today with perfect timing, because we saw the news that Julio Jones was traded to the Titans, which I found kind of, I don't know, I did not expect him to go there. Didn't expect him to go there. You know, you really don't see, Tennessee that is this kind of team that lays it all out there and goes and gets these people. But your question is, does Julio make the Titans a contender? And my answer is yes. I mean, how you're adding an excellent weapon to an already badass arsenal. And like you were talking before we went live, they might have some of the most just physically awesome individuals on that team.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, a lot of them are from Alabama, but no, I think he's going to fit really well in that system, and it's going to help Derrick Henry out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now you can put Brown on one side and Jones on the other, and just like Derrick Henry needed some help getting more yards. I mean, this for him, this could be, he could have more rushing yards than last year, and he led the league last year. I want to say he eclipsed that 2,000 yard mark. So this could be huge for that whole team, and with most everyone returning. Mm-hmm. So the short answer is yes. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this is a team 2 years ago that knocked out Brady in his final year in New England in the playoffs, made Brady look terrible in that game. Turned him over 3 or 4 times. But then last year, kind of the offense was the same story. The offense was playing very well. Derrick Henry got nothing but better as the season went on. It was the defense that failed them. The defense that was so good for them, 2 years or a year prior, was just, I thought they failed them last year. They were inconsistent. They were not very good, and you don't expect that from a Vrabel team. You would think that their defense would just improve every single year since he'd been there. So yeah, obviously, I thought they were a contender even before Julio was there. Now I think with having Julio there, the only question I have is how many games are we going to have Julio? The injuries have kind of been plagued his career kind of the last 3 or 4 years. It's just he just can't seem to stay on the field for every game of the season. He's more of a guy that seems like he's out there playing maybe 10 or 11 games, but then playing 3 or 4 of those games at 70%, not your normal Julio Jones, your Hall of Fame, one of the best ever. So that's my only question with it. And then if they're going to be a team that, expects that they can, beat one of these teams like the Bucs or beat a team like Kansas City to even get to the Super Bowl, their defense has got to be better. It's got to be better. So yeah, they're absolutely a contender. Are they a one of those teams that I'm really watching, right now and saying that they're going to be there? No, they're not. They're not quite there, but that could definitely change.
Yeah. So no, to me that was a great pickup.
And for what they gave up, it wasn't like they had to give up anything. First round picks, second round picks, nothing like that.
It was far from what the Falcons were saying they were wanting for him. So to me, yeah, the deal was pretty good. Well, 2Ks. Will Mac Jones start week 1? And I asked that with the if you caught any of the sports talk shows, Cam's not in camp. Don't know if it's injury. I didn't catch the reason why, but it's Belichick isn't worried about it. But
I don't think Belichick's worried about it because Belichick knows he's not starting week 1.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hinting at because, and I did a video about this and caught some flack for it, but it seems like every time I post a video about how bad Cam Newton blows, man, that video gets some traction. There's a lot of Cam lovers out there, and I did not realize that. But when you have a season as horrible as him, and now don't even come at me with this. Well, who did he have to throw to, Turbo? Well, you know what? Some of the tape I watched, some of the games I watched, the ball didn't even get to said receivers.
Yeah.
So I don't want to fucking hear it.
And how about 3 or 4 years prior to that? I mean, I watched him for 3 or 4 seasons in a row, not be able to make fucking throws in Carolina.
Yeah.
So let's stop giving him excuses. He had his moment. He had his moment there in Carolina for a couple years where he was very good. He was MVP caliber. Cam, was it because he was throwing the ball over the place? Fuck no. It was because he was a runner. He was basically at for a couple seasons there. He was probably the best running back in the National Football League.
Still might be the best short yard.
Absolutely. And so, do I think he starts for them? No, he's not. Mac Jones is going to be the Week 1 starter. He's hands down. But there's no way that they're going to go through this season and not have a package for Cam Newton in goal line situations.
No.
Or in third down situations. It's Bill Belichick. He'll come up with he'll scheme Cam Newton in there for 5 or 6 plays a game. He'll probably be a guy that scores a goddamn touchdown every single week because I mean, all he's got to do inside the 5-yard line is fucking fall forward, fall on his face, and he's still going to have a touchdown. So yeah, that's where he excels. Cam Newton dropping back and throwing the football and moving the football down the field and getting first downs, and that shit's not going to happen. He's not that caliber quarterback. I mean, and for anybody that thinks that he's going to be the Week 1 starter, did you watch any football last year? Did you watch what some of the Bill Belichick faces? Like,
yeah.
It was obvious that Bill Belichick was watching it as like, this is not the fucking answer.
Right.
That's the reason why a team like New England, who does nothing but trade back in every single draft, got their quarterback, with the 15th pick of the draft or somewhere
12th,
right in that.
I think.
Yeah. So they ended up getting their quarterback there.
Didn't even have to trade up for him.
Yeah, and I think, I don't even think that this isn't. I think this is probably the easiest answer out of all the questions that we have. Cam Newton is just he's not an NFL quarterback anymore. He's a wildcat formation. Specialty, get 5 yards, get a 5-yard touchdown. That's what he can do, and that's he's limited to that.
Maybe he can be a tight end like Tim Tebow now.
Yeah.
Well,
he's better than fucking Tim Tebow. I will give him that.
Yeah,
he is better than Tim Tebow.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Tebow at times looked like he shouldn't have been throwing with his left hand. That's neither here nor there. Well, 2Ks. Will we see a Super Bowl rematch? I almost said matchup. Yep, we're going to see a Super Bowl matchup, Turb. Will it be a rematch? I'm going no. And this is going to come back to bite me in the ass, but
you do this shit every fucking year. You're going to piss me off now.
Every year.
You're going to piss me off because you do this every goddamn year. And it's not just you.
No, it's everybody.
And I just sit back and I just watch and and listen. And I'm just like, when are you guys going to learn? I know where it's going already.
I just think TB12 is getting bounced in the NFC Championship.
Why? Is he too old?
No. I just think that someone's going to have their number. And it's not because Brady's going to play badly. It's not because the team's going to play badly. It's just that on that day there's going to, and you might be saying, well, Turbo, who is it? I don't know yet. But there's, like I said, they're only going to make it to the championship game. They're not making it to the Super Bowl. And there's a good chance the Chiefs won't even make the Super Bowl. We talked about, that conference is stacked. It's stacked. And would it shock me if we do have a Super Bowl rematch? No, not at all. Because like you and I have already talked about, two of the best quarterbacks, two of the best teams, two of the best offenses in football. So,
two of the best coaches.
Yeah. So I mean, it's lining up to say that, or to have that rematch. I'm just not on board. I'd rather sit here and stir the pot than be boring and be like, yep, it's gonna happen. So, but yeah, that's my answer. What's yours?
Yeah, I don't think it happens either. I do think that Tampa is going to be back, but I think they match up with. If I was going to pick right now, I think Cleveland's a better football team than the Chiefs at this point. As much as I've been a doubter of Baker Mayfield, he showed last year that he can make big plays in big situations. His maturity level last year was way, way, way better than the years before that. And I really like that team. I think they're fucking loaded. Their defense has gotten nothing but better. Their offense is getting better. And that's where I think, we know what Kansas City can do offensively. They can throw up points better than anybody in the NFL. They have the weapons. They have the most talented quarterback in the game, hands down. But their defense can't stop shit, and it was exploited in that Super Bowl. And in all honesty,
it was embarrassed.
Their offense was exploited a little bit. And did Tampa? And my question is, did Todd Bowles and that Tampa defense, did they make the blueprint on how you defend? How you defend Patrick Mahomes and how you defend this Kansas City team? Did they show other teams how you can do it? Because Cleveland's defense has the talent to match right up with that offense, and if they can, go and look at film of that Super Bowl game and learn things off of that, does that shorten that gap and make that closer in that matchup? So, and the same thing with a lot of other teams in the NFL. So, yeah, I if I was picking right now, I think it's going to be Tampa and Cleveland. But another team to look the fuck out for is the Rams. Mm-hmm. Now with Stafford there, that team is there every year. It seems like their offense is very, very talented. They have the best defense in the NFL. Very well coached team.
Yes.
So they're a team to look out for too. I mean, we talked about it 2 questions ago with how close the NFL is and how it could change and how many teams are so talented and so good. These teams that we're talking about right now, that shit, by week 7 or 8, we might not even be talking about them anymore. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel at this point. But no, I do not think that we see a rematch.
I agree. Well, we've already kind of talked about some of the rookie quarterbacks of this year. Let's talk about 2 from last year. We didn't get to see one a whole lot, but from what I saw, I was very impressed. And with the other one, did nothing but impress, and that's Joe Burrow and Mr. Herbert. Mr. Herbert. Out of those 2 2Ks, which one do you see having a better sophomore season?
This question's so fucking hard.
Yes.
Because these are 2 guys that would not shock me if they're in the MVP talk. That's how I feel about both of them. That's how good I think that both of them can be. And it's just, when are some of these guys like your Brady's and like your Aaron Rodgers, when are they gonna pass the torch? We know what Patrick Mahomes is capable of, and how good that he can be, and how fast that offense can put up points. But these are the next 2 guys, in my opinion, that, in line to be the next guys that we talk about, like in the same sentence as Mahomes. So, yeah, this is hard, and they both have very good young receiving cores. I think if I was going to go, I would say that Herbert has the better situation right now as far as what he has around him. I think his offensive line is way advanced from what Burrow has. As far as the receivers go, I would probably give it to Herbert right now too, just because they have Keenan Allen and he's done it for a longer period of time than some of these other guys. So yeah, I guess that answers the question. Right now, where I would go is Herbert, but it would not shock me either. I mean, both of these guys are going to be really, really good, and it would, I mean, at the end of the season, they might both be compared about the same. I mean, that's how good both of these guys are.
Yeah, this one's hard because Herbert has a better team around him. There's a reason why the Bengals were drafting number 1 to take Burrow in the beginning. But I think if Burrow would have stayed healthy all year last year, Herbert still would have put up obviously his numbers, but I think Burrow would have surpassed surpassed him.
Yeah, you can't argue it.
And so I think stat-wise, Burrow has a better season. Win-wise, Herbert has a better season. So yes, I know it's my question, and really can't have two answers to one question, but I'm breaking my rules, and you would be hard pressed to tell me you favor one over the other for any reason, because they both do pretty much the exact same thing. The only difference is, like I said, Herbert has a better team around him, or let's say a more proven team, whereas with Burrow, it's still kind of a learning process, and the Bengals were a bad team for a long time, so it takes a while to build or to get out of that. All right, well, 2K is getting back to your questions. Does Carson Wentz get the Comeback Player of the Year award? I don't think so. I think I'm not buying into the Carson Wentz hype. I'm not. Can he be as bad as he was last year? No. I don't think that's the player that he is. But I'm still not buying into him being a great player. I think if anyone has the kind of the perfect situation to win Comeback Player of the Year, is your boy Dak. Or even Joe Burrow, or players like that. Even though those two were hurt and not like emotionally hurt, or kind of got kicked in the dick like Carson did. But is Indy a better team than Philly? Yes, 100%. 100%. But I don't think that even the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, it wasn't because of Carson Wentz. Yes, he got him there, got hurt, and that's when the Nick Foles show started.
But before that injury, he was probably going to be the
MVP.
And matching up at the time, the head coach in Indy now, what was it, Rick or whatever, was the offensive coordinator in Philly at that time. So getting matched back up with, obviously somebody that he was comfortable with. Look, I don't think that he's, because I think Dak runs away with that award.
Yeah.
I think Dak runs away with it just because that offense is so fucking loaded that Dak's just going to throw up huge points week in, week out. Yeah. And their defense can't stop anything, so their offense is going to have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Dak runs away with that award. But the better football team is going to be Carson Wentz and Indianapolis. They're going to be a better football team than the Cowboys. Look, they're a team that they competed last year and put themselves in the playoffs and with a situation to advance with Phillip Rivers as their quarterback. And not at all knocking Phillip Rivers, but last year's version of Phillip Rivers was not the version that we watched for years and years in San Diego, now L.A. But yeah, I think Carson Wentz is going to be very good. I think this is a great pickup for the Colts. I think it's obviously, you would love to still have Andrew Luck there. I mean,
sure.
he would be today one of the best quarterbacks in the game. But I think we're going to see Wentz get back to that. Maybe not top 7, 8 quarterback in the NFL, but he's going to be right there around that top 10 version. Guy can throw the football. It's a matter of can he cut down on the turnover. He's got to cut down on the turnovers. Last year, he was just throwing the ball all over the place, turning the ball over in big situations, turning the ball over, in the red zone, and it was just ugly. He didn't look comfortable. The drafting the Jalen Hurts experiment, I can see where that probably made him a little bit uncomfortable. But if you're the franchise guy, which they made that commitment when they signed that contract with him, then you can't worry about a third round draft pick quarterback that chances are they were drafting him, I think, just because of his playmaking ability. It had nothing to do with wanting him to play under center for so. That part of it bothered me, but I've always been a Wentz fan. I want to see him succeed. I like the Colts. They're another team with a great young defense. A lot of up and coming players on the offensive side of the ball too. I think they got a real badass with Jonathan Taylor as running back from drafting him last year.
Once they started using him last year, you saw that running game just take off.
Yep. So I think they're a team that Carson Wentz puts up very solid numbers, but as far as comeback player of the year, I don't think he can beat out what Dak will do.
No, I think you're 100% right there. All right. My last one. I have one more and you have one more, so perfect. Who will have a more bounce back season? Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey? Both of them were... Saquon went out super early with a season-ending injury, whereas it seemed like McCaffrey never really got on track, never really got healthy. No. And to be honest with you, if looking back, they probably should have just, after the first time he went out, because it was with a high ankle sprain or something, and probably should have just kept him out the rest of the year. Now, if you're comparing situations, I don't even know who the quarterback situation in Carolina, the team around him, whereas at least with New York, they have some more playmakers. It doesn't have to be the Saquon show. So which one do you think has a more bounce back there?
Well, for that reason right there, that's why I go with McCaffrey, is because I think that there's so much talent, or not, I shouldn't say a ton of talent, but there's more talent on that New York team to where they'll spread the wealth out a little bit. Barkley's coming off of a major injury, to where McCaffrey's kind of coming back off of more of lingering injuries, not like, nothing to the extent of what Barkley's coming from. So I think that there's going to be the period where you kind of ease Barkley back into it. And then McCaffrey, I question a little bit with the talent and the weapons around him, but Sam Darnold coming there now, but to play quarterback, I don't think he ever got a fair shot in New York. I think he played for
it's the fucking Jets.
Yeah, it was just he had no help, he had no receivers, he had no running game. His coaches were fucking idiots. It was just a dumpster fire from the day that he stepped foot there. And I'm not saying that he's he's going to turn everything around in Carolina and he's the answer to everything, but I think he's a very serviceable quarterback who going to be way better than Bridgewater, in my opinion. And so to get that and just to have a little bit more consistency at the quarterback position, that's, to me, is going to help McCaffrey. And I think at this point right now, he's the better option at quarterback. I think he's a better option than Danny Dimes, or whatever the fuck his name is again. So, yeah, I'm going McCaffrey with this one.
I am as well, just because, to me, McCaffrey, this is like the only time he's been hurt. Whereas with Saquon, it seems like there's always something. Even going back to when he was in college, it was a knee, it was an ankle, it was a knee, it was an ankle. Granted, this was a big one. I mean, this was an ACL. This is a big one. And I think all in all, McCaffrey's just a better all-around player. 100% healthy, comparing the two of them. Because he has to, because there's almost no one else on that offense. That's why he has so many scrimmage yards. That's why he has so many touchdowns, because there's no one. It seems like there's no one else there that can do it. So to have a more I think the Giants as a team will be more successful. But I think stat-wise, you're going to see McCaffrey have better stats.
He can do it all. You're talking about a guy that can take on 20 carries. He catches the ball 7-8 times a game. Also, he can throw. I've seen him throw touchdown passes. Also, it's not like they go to a different option when they get down and go goal to goal situations. They keep him right in the game, and he scores all the touchdowns too. So yeah, there's nothing that the guy can't do. Barkley, I get it, the talent there, the big play. He's a big play guy. He can make anybody miss. He's one of the fastest guys, one of the fastest running backs in the NFL. But I got to give the nod to McCaffrey on this one.
Is McCaffrey your number one overall pick in fantasy?
I ain't giving you that information yet. In all honesty, I haven't looked at it enough.
I was trying to get the information out for you. I
haven't looked at it enough yet to make any calls like that. Man, I mean, if I was going to say my number one pick in fantasy football right now, it's hard to go away from Derrick Henry.
And I got him at pick 5 last year.
Yeah, it's hard to go. Right, and because I think what he did 2 years ago people didn't I'm not going to say people didn't believe that he could do it again, but people didn't think that he was going to be able to do exactly what he did, where it was like he got better as the season went on. Most running backs kind of fall back to reality. They might start off real hot, but then they kind of fall back. And he just gets better as the season goes on, and then ends the season, and he's taken, next thing you know, in week 16, where you got guys normally sitting out, he's getting 35 carries.
For 220 yards.
Yeah, so when you see that, and how consistent he is, and it's basically every single week he gets at least 20 carries, and every single week he's always scoring a touchdown. It seems like he's always over 100 yards. It's the consistency is what wins fantasy football. I mean, you got to have guys that consistently do it, not just the guys that have huge weeks and then disappear for a week or two. So I haven't looked at it enough to make any calls, but if I know that when the season ended last year, I said if I had the number 1 pick this year, Derrick Henry would be very hard for me to pass up.
Are you going to make the playoffs this year?
Shut the fuck up.
All right. No. So, last question. Can the Bears win the division? The short answer is yes. The real answer is depends where Aaron Rodgers is playing.
Yep.
Like we talked about with the Justin Fields draft pick. Love the pick. Love the player. It's something the Bears desperately needed to do. And I'm so excited that they actually did it. Now it's time to get on the field, because that's been the problem with the Bears for the last 30 years. They don't have a quarterback. Don't have a quarterback. Now that we finally, quote unquote, have a quarterback, because the receivers have been there, the running backs have been there, the defense is fantastic. If you're really a Bears fan, you could say a double doink was what kept that team from going further, but
it was also a quarterback.
Yeah. And as long as Aaron is still slinging it in Green Bay, that division goes to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Did the Bears do what they had to do to be at least mentioned in the same kind of category as the Packers? Yeah. But still,
they just drafted these guys. We're 2 months away from post draft. It's gonna take some time, and you know what? Green Bay doesn't have that much time left. No. The days are numbered of Aaron Rodgers. I think Rodgers suits up for Green Bay this year, and maybe they get him for another year after that. But then it's over. I don't think he's not going to be around for much longer.
He's not going to be the TB12 playing until he's 50.
And about that time, that's when these guys that are being drafted now by Chicago should be, Justin Fields. Look, a lot of people are saying, especially Bears fans, all of a sudden are coming out of the woodworks and saying he was the best quarterback in the draft. Very well could be. But let's not forget, he hasn't played a down in the NFL yet. He has not played a down. He never won the big game at the college level. When's the last time there's been a quarterback that come from Ohio State that was relevant in the NFL?
Troy Smith.
If that's what Justin Fields amounts to in his NFL career,
I hope not.
You're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of questions there. I'm not arguing that. I think there's a very legit argument that he is the best quarterback in that draft. But let's watch these kids play first.
Yep.
Let's watch all of them play first before we go that far. And Chicago is not known for ever being able to put a quarterback on the field ever. I mean, you guys praised Jay Cutler like he was the fucking truth, the man, and he was very, very just a serviceable quarterback with a cannon for an arm, absolutely. Yeah. But he was a serviceable quarterback, had a cannon for an arm, had a shitty attitude, pussed out and pedaled a bike in the playoffs when in the biggest fucking game of his career.
Yep.
So I want them because I'm fucking tired of the Green Bay show. I'm tired of the Aaron Rodgers bullshit. So I want it to be somebody different. I prefer it to be the Lions because I hate Chicago teams, but I think the Bears are the team that's next up in line. But do they win the division this year? No. Aaron Rodgers is going to suit up for Green Bay, and until that guy's gone, they're the class of that division.
I couldn't even as a Bears fan. I also like to say I'm a realist too. And yeah, that division goes through Green Bay until Aaron hangs it up.
Yeah.
Until he's either traded or hangs it up. I guess we should say that. But all right, well that ends our questions, and we're almost exactly at that hour mark. 2K. Almost exactly at that hour mark. So is there anything we need to wrap up for this week? I know we tackled a lot of hard questions. A lot of hard questions.
It was nice to talk about the NFL. It was nice to talk football.
Not the
we
NBA.
did basketball last week. That'll probably be the last time we do basketball until at least we get to like the semifinals or
which would probably be 2 months from
finals. Yeah, no shit. Just to touch on the NFL or on the NBA one little time though, LeBron and the Lakers are out.
Yep. First time in his career, bounced in the first round.
And I'm not mad at it. I'm not a LeBron hater like I know a lot of people that listen to us are, but I don't know. I'm fucking sick of him. I'm sick of watching him every single year. I'm sick of them always. So to see some of these kind of see fresh blood in there. Mm-hmm. See the Suns and Devin Booker and even Chris Paul, because Chris Paul's never been consistent, a winner in the playoff when the playoffs become around. Normally he's the team that's how many years were the Clippers a very good team and they get outed in the first round of the playoffs or in the second round. So to see him having the success that he's having, to see him take down probably his best friend in the NBA in LeBron, and then Devin Booker's the truth. I've been telling you guys that, and one of my predictions was actually right. I said Suns in 6. Yeah. And because of Devin Booker. I mean, what did he have? 47 points or something like that night? I mean, he just fucking went off. Yeah. He
pretty much dropped dick right on LeBron. Yeah. He's like, this is where you might as well just go home, old man, because I got this.
Yeah, that game was, watching Game 5 and the way that they just dominated that game.
They were down by 30 points at half.
Yeah, it was like, this series is over.
Game 6, they were down 29 points at half.
And they were like making a big deal about it before Game 6. They were talking, well, is Anthony Davis going to play? And I was watching it like, it doesn't fucking matter. No. This series is over. No. This series is over and it ends tonight, and it doesn't matter if Anthony Davis is there or not. Like, the Phoenix was hands down the way better team. Mm-hmm.
That's why I said if the Lakers did make it out of that series, they're going to have a cakewalk, because that's the Suns are the best team in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to argue it.
Doesn't matter if they're
hard to argue it.
Doesn't matter if they're the 2 seed or what. And on top of that, in DraftKings, I put a little something on them to win the title. Plus 800. Yep, give me those odds. Give me those odds all day. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was gonna start the show off with one of my predictions finally came true. So let's see if I can keep the train going positively on this instead of always stepping on my dick. So, well, 2K crew, thanks for joining us. We will see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, and as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.